Grüß Gott, I am Sister Martina, and this is the second video of our series about the modern popes, trying to understand a bit the church in our days. The first pope we are going to mention today is Blessed Pius IX, whom the historians consider the first modern pope, in the sense of a pope that lived after the French Revolution and somehow already in the world in which we still live today, somehow, at least the Western world. Of course, it's much different today, but still the ideas are there. And Pius IX was Giovanni Ferretti, the son of a very big and aristocratic Italian family. And in his family, he learned already the new liberal, political liberal, social liberal values of his time. Although the family was connected to the aristocracy, they were very participant and very present in political, social, cultural movements of their time. And he was brilliant in his studies, was ordained very early, and he had this character of someone who is somehow a social leader, in the sense of being a very strong personality, of having much knowledge and being very present in the world of his times. And he made big reformations in the so-called papal states at that time. It was during his pontificate that more or less the Vatican as we have today appeared. He was, by the way, the Pope who reigned for more time than any other Pope in the history of the Church, from 1846 to 1878, a very, very long pontificate. And he was so known and so appreciated for his liberal ideas in what concerns politics and social life and so on, that when the revolution in Italy established the Italian unity, Italy as a country, in 1870, he was asked by the revolutionaries to be the leader of this new Italy. They even wanted him to be the king of Italy. And he, of course, didn't accept it, either to be a king or a president or anything. He said it is not compatible with his work as a pope, of course. But we see how he was appreciated in the liberal sense. And in another way, on the other hand, he is generally remembered today as a very, very conservative, even retrograde pope, in the sense of being exactly against the modern liberal principles. And how can this be? What is the truth then? As everything that is in the middle, everything that has this good measure about which we spoke in our other series, both extremes criticize, of course, the good measure. The conservative, very conservative, too conservative people in the church say Pius IX was weak, was too liberal, and the liberal people, the too liberal people, say he was too conservative. Actually, what he said, and this is, I think, the main thing that perhaps we can learn from his pontificate, is this way of the middle, this measure, this good measure. In what concerns politics, in what concerns society, in what concerns our public life, so to say, and in this he's not alone. This is, of course, an idea that is very Christian. We should, as convinced Christian people, be, of course, liberal in the sense of being for freedom, for liberty, not against it. The Ancien Regime, the old regime that existed in Europe during the 16th, 17th, 18th century, for example, in France, was not something Christian. The church had many problems with the Catholic kings of France, for example, because exactly the king wanted to divinize himself, wanted to rule as if he were a sort of divine person, and wanted also in terms of religion to control the church and so on. And the deep Christian faith says we are all equal before God, and because of that we are of course all equal before the law. We are all independent of our race or class condition or even of our faith. We should have freedom. Freedom is something essential for us personally and socially. So of course we should be favorable to liberal things in what concerns this freedom. The problem is, of course, these liberal people went too far away, too far in their thought, and ended up by saying, so there is no God, there is no right or wrong, there is no good or bad. Actually, liberty, freedom, but means that I can do whatever I wish. That good or right is something that I determine. It has to do with me, with my own intelligence or with my own wishes and so on, which is the thing that we live until today. Everything is relative. There are no values. There is no moral anymore. There is no good, no bad. And in this sense, the Pope then was very anti-liberal, not in the sense of anti-politically liberal, but anti-liberal in this extreme. He published an annex to one of his encyclicals called the Syllabus Errorum, was a list of these modern errors of modern philosophy, but he's speaking against this kind of thought. Liberty, freedom means exactly that we recognize and submit freely, individually, to truth, to beauty, to right, to what is good. So we must recognize God. This is something that the others cannot impose upon us. The church cannot do that. The state cannot do that. We have to find our own way to God, each one of us. And for this, there must be freedom in society. But if we don't recognize anymore that there is a parameter, that there is a God, that there is truth and beauty and good, then in the end we fall back in a dictatorship that is even worse than before. And he said that very clearly, and if he had lived the 20th century with communism and Nazism, National Socialism here in Germany, he would just confirm his words, exactly that. What he says, a society that has abandoned God, abandoned morals, abandoned the belief that there is right and good, is a society that has lost itself. There is no possibility of building something good, something really just, something really, really free, if we don't have anymore the source of freedom, the source of goodness, the source of justice, who is God, of course. And so in this sense, he is, of course, criticized by the radical liberals, by the communists, for example, because he didn't go all the way, as they say. Of course not. He stayed in the middle way, the good measure. He was not conservative in the sense of going back to those times of lack of freedom, lack of political or social freedom. No, he was in this sense a very free man, but he was not a liberal in the sense of saying that there is no more morals and we are just, everything is relative. And in this sense, Pope Pius IX is also the beginning of the true position of the Christian in modern society. We should live in our society, we should go along with our society, know that it has of good things. We should not be looking at the past and trying to go back in history. This makes no sense. Let's be modern in what modern is good, but let's never forget that God is the source of all good things. And in this sense, when we abandon God, when we abandon morals, then we are just actually going back. Then we are going, being retrograde. Then we are really not building forward. So may the blessed Pius IX, beatified by Pope John Paul II, bless us. and help us to live in our modern days with a very keen sense of this good measure of God, of morals. God bless you all till our next meeting.